The scorching July sun beat down on the dusty streets of Sweetwater, Texas, as Lily Keller stared at her reflection in the cracked mirror of her modest bedroom. Her heart raced with a mixture of excitement and dread. Today was the opening day of the county fair, the biggest social event in this part of Texas, in the summer of 1878, and for the first time in years, she had gathered enough courage to attend. Lily smoothed down the fabric of her carefully altered dress, a deep blue calico that she'd spent countless evenings reworking to fit her fuller figure. At 22, she was well aware that she didn't possess the willowy frame that seemed to be admired by most of the townsfolk. Her mother had always told her she was built sturdy like her grandmother, but in Sweetwater, such sturdiness often invited unkind whispers. "You don't have to go," she murmured to herself, adjusting the lace collar that framed her round face. But beneath her nervousness, a stubborn determination had taken root. She had spent too many years hiding in the back of her father's general store, too many celebrations watching from windows while others danced and laughed. A knock at her door startled her from her thoughts. "Lily. Are you ready, dear? Your father's already got the wagon out front," her mother called. "Coming, Ma," Lily replied, taking one final glance at herself. Her chestnut hair was neatly pinned up, revealing a pair of wide, intelligent hazel eyes. She may not have been the slimmest girl in Sweetwater, but today she would hold her head high. The Keller family wagon rumbled along the dusty road toward the fairgrounds at the edge of town. Lily's father, Howard, handled the reins with practiced ease, while her mother, Martha, chatted excitedly about the preserves she'd entered in this year's competition. "I believe my strawberry jam might actually beat Edith Wilson's this time," Martha said proudly. "That woman has won 5 years running, but I've perfected my recipe." Lily smiled at her mother's enthusiasm, though her own thoughts kept drifting to the social aspects of the fair. Young men and women from all over the county would be there, including the Crawford sisters, who never missed an opportunity to remind Lily of her size. As they approached the fairgrounds, Lily could hear the lively fiddle music and see the colorful flags fluttering in the hot Texas breeze. Wagons and horses were lined up in neat rows, and the sense of fried foods and baked goods filled the air. For a moment, Lily's anxiety melted away, replaced by genuine excitement. "Look at that crowd," her father exclaimed. "Biggest turnout I've seen in years." After helping her parents unload their entries for the various competitions, Lily took a deep breath and wandered toward the center of the fair. Children darted between stalls, clutching sticky candy, while groups of young women moved in tight circles, arms linked and heads bent in conversation. Lily paused to admire a display of hand-sewn quilts, appreciating the intricate patterns and tiny, precise stitches. She was so engrossed that she didn't notice someone approaching until a shadow fell across the fabric. "Miss Keller, is that you?" Lily turned to find Sheriff Thomas looking at her with a friendly smile. As one of the few people in town who regularly visited the general store, he had always been kind to her. "Good afternoon, Sheriff," she replied, relieved to see a familiar face. "Enjoying the fair so far?" he asked. "I've only just arrived, but it seems wonderful this year," Lily said, gesturing to the bustling grounds around them. Sheriff Thomas nodded. "We've got folks from as far as Austin come to participate, even got some new faces around." He tipped his hat. "You enjoy yourself now. Tell your father I'll be by to settle my account at the store next week." As he walked away, Lily felt a small boost of confidence. Perhaps today wouldn't be so terrible after all. That confidence lasted precisely 23 minutes, until she encountered Beatrice Crawford and her sisters near the refreshment stand. "Why, Lily Keller, I hardly recognized you out in the daylight," Beatrice said with exaggerated surprise, her voice carrying enough to draw attention from nearby fairgoers. "I thought you'd permanently taken root behind your father's counter." Lily felt her cheeks flush. "Hello, Beatrice." Enjoying the fair, Beatrice ignored her question, instead looking her up and down with a critical eye. "That's quite a dress you're wearing. Did you make it yourself? It must have taken an awful lot of fabric." Her sisters tittered behind their gloved hands, and Lily felt the familiar sting of humiliation creeping up her neck. She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. "Beatrice, your mother is looking for you," came a deep, unfamiliar voice from behind Lily. Something about judging the pie contest starting soon. Lily turned to see a tall man she didn't recognize. He wore the practical clothes of a rancher's sturdy pants, a simple shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and a well-worn hat that shaded piercing blue eyes. There was something commanding about his presence. Though he didn't raise his voice or make any grand gestures, Beatrice's smug expression faltered. "Oh, is it that time already? Well, ladies, we should head over." She shot Lily one last disdainful look before departing with her sisters, their skirts swishing dramatically as they went. Lily let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Thank you," she said quietly to the stranger, "though I don't believe Mrs. Crawford is judging any contests today." The corner of the man's mouth twitched upward. "No, I don't believe she is," he agreed, "but it seemed like you could use a moment's peace." "You must be new to Sweetwater," Lily observed. "I don't believe we've met." "Zachary Harding," he replied, removing his hat and revealing thick dark hair. "I purchased the old Wilson Ranch last month, and you are Lily Keller." "My family runs the general store in town." Recognition dawned in his eyes. "Ah, so you're Howard Keller's daughter. I've been meaning to introduce myself to your father. I'll be needing supplies regularly for the ranch." Before Lily could respond, a commotion near the livestock pens caught their attention. A small crowd had gathered and excited shouts could be heard. "Excuse me," Zachary said, replacing his hat. "I should check on that. My prize bull is being shown today and he can be temperamental." He tipped his hat and strode away, leaving Lily feeling oddly disappointed at the abrupt end to their conversation. She watched him disappear into the crowd, his tall figure easily distinguishable among the fairgoers. For the next hour, Lily wandered through the fair, stopping to admire craftwork and agricultural displays. She managed to avoid the Crawford sisters, instead spending time with Mrs. Patterson, her elderly neighbor who was exhibiting her famous honey. "Did you hear about the new rancher, Mrs. Patterson asked as they sampled tiny portions of different honey varieties. "They say he comes from a good family in Colorado, paid cash for the Wilson place, and he's already hired half a dozen hands." "I met him briefly," Lily admitted, thinking of Zachary's timely intervention. Mrs. Patterson's eyes twinkled. "Did you now? Handsome young man, isn't he? Not spoken for, from what I gather." Lily felt herself blushing again, but this time not from embarrassment. "I hardly know him, Mrs. Patterson." "Well, there's the dance tonight," the older woman said with a meaningful look. Perfect opportunity to remedy that. The midday sun was at its peak when the announcement came for everyone to gather at the central pavilion for the livestock awards. Lily found her parents in the crowd, her mother beaming with a blue ribbon for her preserves. Second place. Martha exclaimed proudly. Edith Wilson got first, but the judge said it was the closest competition in years. "That's wonderful, Ma," Lily said, genuinely happy for her mother. The crowd around them grew as the master of ceremonies began announcing winners for various categories. Lily found herself being pushed toward the front by the surging crowd, ending up much closer to the judge's table than she had intended. "And now, for Best Bull, a new entry this year," the announcer proclaimed. "The prize goes to Thunderclap, owned by Zachary Harding of North Star Ranch." Applause erupted as Zachary stepped forward to accept his ribbon, his magnificent black bull being held by a ranch hand nearby. The animal was indeed impressive, with a powerful build and an alert, almost intelligent gaze. As Zachary shook hands with the judges, Lily heard whispers from a group of young women to her right. "He's certainly the finest-looking man at the fair this year," one said. "I heard he's looking for a wife," another added. "Someone who can help run that big ranch of his." "Well, it certainly won't be Lily Keller," came Beatrice Crawford's unmistakable voice. "Can you imagine her trying to fit on a horse? The poor animal would collapse." Laughter rippled through the group, loud enough that several people nearby turned to look, including Zachary, who was just stepping down from the platform. His eyes found Lily's, and she saw recognition flash across his face, followed by something that might have been concern. Mortification washed over Lily like a wave. Without thinking, she pushed her way through the crowd, desperate to escape the laughter and stares. She hurried past the food stalls and game booths, not slowing until she reached a quiet area behind the exhibition tents. Leaning against a wagon, she fought back tears. This was exactly why she had avoided public gatherings for so long. No matter how nicely she dressed or how politely she behaved, people like Beatrice Crawford would always find a way to mock her size and make her feel unwelcome. Miss Keller. Lily looked up to see Zachary Harding approaching, his prize ribbon still in hand. "Please," she said quickly, wiping at her eyes. "You don't need to. Are you all right?" he asked, his voice gentle. "I'm fine," she insisted, though her wavering voice betrayed her. "Congratulations on your bull." "He's magnificent." Zachary glanced down at the ribbon in his hand as if he'd forgotten about it. "Thank you. I've raised him since he was a calf." He hesitated, then added, "I couldn't help but overhear those women." Lily felt fresh embarrassment flood her cheeks. "It's nothing I haven't heard before." "That doesn't make it right," he said firmly. "Or true." Their eyes met, and for a moment Lily was struck by the sincerity she saw in his gaze. "Zach," a voice called out, breaking the moment. "They need you back at the pen." Zachary turned to see one of his ranch hands waving urgently. He looked back at Lily, appearing reluctant to leave. "I should go," he said. "But Miss Keller, will you be at the dance tonight?" The question caught her off guard. I hadn't planned on it." "I hope you'll reconsider," he said. Then, with a tip of his hat, he was gone, striding quickly back toward the livestock area. Lily remained where she was, her heart beating strangely fast. No man had ever expressed interest in her presence at a dance before, especially not one as handsome and well-regarded as Zachary Harding seemed to be. It was probably just pity, she told herself, yet she couldn't help but feel a small flutter of hope. By the time Lily rejoined her parents, the afternoon competitions were wrapping up. Her father had won a small prize for his vegetable garden entry, and both her parents were in high spirits. "There you are," Martha said. "We've been looking for you. Did you see the quilts, Mrs. Johnson's took first place, but I think Rebecca Taylor's was finer work." "I saw them," Lily confirmed, grateful for the mundane conversation. "We're heading home soon to rest before the dance," her father announced. "Your mother insists on attending, even though my dancing days are long behind me." "Nonsense," Martha chided. "You still do a fine waltz, Howard Keller." She turned to Lily. "Will you be joining us tonight, dear? You haven't been to a dance in ages." Lily hesitated, thinking of Zachary's invitation and Beatrice's cruel words. "I'm not sure, Ma." "Well, we've brought your nice dress just in case," Martha said, patting her arm. "It's in the wagon." As they walked toward their wagon, Lily spotted Zachary again, now engaged in conversation with several prominent ranchers from the area. He looked up as she passed, and their eyes met briefly. He offered a small nod, which she returned before quickly looking away back home. Lily paced her bedroom, torn about whether to attend the dance. The practical side of her insisted that going would only invite more ridicule, but another part, a braver part she rarely acknowledged, wanted to see if Zachary had meant what he said. "Lily." Her mother knocked softly before entering the room, carrying a garment draped over her arm. "I brought your dress. I added some new lace to the collar. Do you want to try it on?" The dress was Lily's best, a rich emerald green that complemented her hair and eyes. Martha had indeed added delicate cream-colored lace that softened the neckline. "It's beautiful, Ma," Lily said, touching the fabric, "but I don't know if I should go." Martha sat on the edge of the bed, patting the space beside her. When Lily joined her, she took her daughter's hand. "I saw what happened today," she said gently. "Those Crawford girls have never had an ounce of kindness among them." Lily looked down. "It's not just them. Everyone stares and whispers." "Not everyone," Martha corrected, "and certainly not that handsome rancher who came to your defense. Mrs. Patterson told me all about it." Lily couldn't help but smile. News travels fast. "It's Sweetwater," Martha said with a laugh. "Now, about this dance, you can stay home if you truly wish to, but remember what your grandmother always said, those who hide from life never find its treasures." Looking at the beautiful dress and thinking of Zachary's invitation, Lily made her decision. "I'll go," she said, "but promise you won't leave me alone all evening." Martha squeezed her hand. "I promise." 2 hours later, the Keller family wagon approached the fairgrounds once more. The evening had brought cooler air, and lanterns now illuminated the area. casting a warm glow over the festivities. The pavilion had been cleared for dancing, and a small band was already playing a lively tune as couples twirled across the wooden platform. Lily's pulse quickened as she descended from the wagon, smoothing the skirt of her emerald dress. Her hair was arranged in loose curls that framed her face, and Martha had insisted she wear her grandmother's pearl earrings for the occasion. "You look lovely," her father said gruffly, offering his arm. "Any young man would be lucky to dance with you tonight." Inside the pavilion, the atmosphere was festive and warm. Benches lined the perimeter for those resting between dances, and tables laden with refreshments stood at one end. Lily immediately spotted the Crawford sisters, dressed in elaborate gowns that must have come from the finest shop in Austin, their hair adorned with ribbons and flowers. "I'm going to get us some punch," Martha said, patting Lily's arm before disappearing into the crowd. Left alone, Lily moved toward one of the benches, intending to observe the dancing for a while. She had just seated herself when a shadow fell across her path. "Miss Keller," Zachary Harding said, standing before her in a clean shirt and waistcoat, his hat held respectfully in his hands. "I'm glad you decided to come." Lily looked up at him, momentarily speechless. In the soft lantern light, his features seemed even more striking: strong jawline, clear blue eyes, and an expression of genuine pleasure at seeing her. "Mr. Harding," she finally managed. "Congratulations again on your win today." "Thank you," he said, then gestured to the empty space beside her. "May I?" When she nodded, he sat down, placing his hat beside him. "I must confess, I've been watching the entrance for the past half hour, hoping you'd arrive." "You have?" Lily couldn't hide her surprise. "I have," he confirmed. "And now that you're here, I was hoping you might honor me with a dance." Across the pavilion, Lily could see Beatrice Crawford watching them, her expression a mixture of disbelief and irritation. For a moment, doubt crept in: was this some elaborate joke? But looking into Zachary's eyes, she saw nothing but sincerity. "I'd like that," she said, surprised by her own confidence. Zachary stood and offered his hand, which she took as she rose from the bench. His palm was warm and calloused from ranch work, his grip firm but gentle as he led her toward the dance floor. The band had just begun playing a waltz, and couples were forming around them. Zachary placed his hand respectfully at her waist, and Lily rested hers on his shoulder as they joined the dance. "I must warn you," she said quietly as they began to move, "I'm not particularly practiced at this." "That makes two of us," he replied with a smile. "Ranch life doesn't offer many opportunities for dancing. We'll learn together." Despite their mutual inexperience, they moved well together. Zachary led with natural grace, and Lily found herself relaxing into the rhythm of the dance. As they turned around the floor, she was aware of eyes following them, some curious, some approving, and some, like Beatrice's, plainly envious. "Everyone is watching us," she murmured. "Let them watch," Zachary replied. "I'm certainly not bothered, are you?" Lily considered this. "Not as much as I thought I would be." As the music continued, Zachary guided them to a less crowded corner of the dance floor. "I've been wanting to speak with you properly since our brief meeting earlier," he said. "Your father's store was actually one of the reasons I decided to purchase land in this area." "Our store?" Lily asked, surprised. He nodded. "I visited Sweetwater 6 months ago while scouting properties. Your father helped me for nearly 2 hours, explaining about the local soil conditions, weather patterns, and which supplies would work best for the kind of ranching I had in mind. When the Wilson place came up for sale, I remembered his kindness." "That sounds like Pa," Lily said with affection. "He takes pride in knowing everything a customer might need." "And what about you?" Zachary asked. "Mrs. Patterson mentioned you're quite involved in running the store as well." Lily was surprised that he'd been asking about her. "Yes, I keep the books and handle most of the ordering now." "Pa's eyesight isn't what it used to be for the small print in catalogs." "An educated woman then," he said with approval. "That's something I admire." The music ended and couples around them began to separate, but Zachary didn't immediately release her hand. "Would you like some refreshment?" he asked. Or perhaps another dance. Before Lily could respond, a commotion at the entrance drew everyone's attention. A young ranch hand burst into the pavilion, his face flushed with exertion. "Fire," he shouted. Fire at the exhibition tents. The music stopped abruptly, and people began moving toward the doors in alarm. Zachary's expression turned serious. "Stay here," he told Lily, then paused. "Or better yet, find your parents and get to safety." Without waiting for a response, he hurried toward the entrance, joining other men who were rushing to help. Lily quickly located her mother and father near the refreshment table. "We need to leave," her father said urgently. "Fire spreads quickly in this dry weather." But as they made their way outside, Lily saw that the fire was indeed at the exhibition tents where all the competition entries were stored, including her mother's prize-winning preserves and her father's vegetables. "All that hard work," Martha said sadly, watching as men formed a bucket brigade from the nearby well. Lily's concern, however, was for Zachary, who she spotted at the front of the firefighting effort, directing men and passing buckets with tireless energy. The flames cast an orange glow over the scene, illuminating faces streaked with sweat and soot. For over an hour, the town battled the blaze. Women joined in, forming a second line to bring water from a creek behind the fairgrounds. Even Beatrice Crawford and her sisters helped, their fancy dresses soon stained with water and ash. Finally, the fire was brought under control, though several tents and their contents had been destroyed. As the immediate danger passed, people began assessing the damage and treating minor burns and injuries. Lily had joined the women bringing water and now stood catching her breath, her dress damp and smudged, her carefully arranged curls long since fallen. "Miss Keller." She turned to find Zachary approaching, his face and clothes blackened with soot, a small burn visible on his forearm. "Mr. Harding, you're hurt," she said, immediately concerned. He glanced down at his arm as if noticing the injury for the first time. "It's nothing serious." "Nevertheless, it should be treated," she insisted. "My mother has a salve in our wagon that works wonders for burns." He didn't protest as she led him toward their wagon, where Martha was already helping others with minor injuries. The older woman took one look at Zachary's arm and immediately reached for her medicine box. "Sit down, young man," she instructed, gesturing to the wagon step. "Lily, fetch the clean cloth from the bag." As Martha applied the salve to Zachary's burn, Lily provided fresh water for him to drink and wipe his face. The rest of the fairground was still abuzz with activity as people salvaged what they could and officials discussed what might have caused the fire. "Thank you, Mrs. Keller," Zachary said as Martha finished bandaging his arm. "You have a healing touch." "You can thank my daughter for the salve," Martha replied. "She's the one who makes it, following her grandmother's recipe." Zachary looked at Lily with newfound appreciation. A woman of many talents, it seems. Sheriff Thomas approached them, his usually neat appearance now disheveled. "Zach, we could use your help. One of the exhibition horses got spooked and broke loose. Your ranch hands are trying to corral it, but they could use your expertise." "Of course," Zachary said, standing immediately. He turned to Lily and Martha. "Thank you again for your help. Miss Keller, I hope we can continue our conversation soon." As he walked away with the sheriff, Martha gave Lily a knowing look. "That young man certainly seems taken with you." Lily felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the recent fire. "He's just being kind, Ma, MMHMM," Martha hummed, not convinced, "and I'm the Queen of England." By midnight, the fire was fully extinguished, though a few men remained to watch for any rekindling. Most families had returned home, including the Kellers, who had offered their wagon to transport an elderly couple whose own transportation had been damaged in the commotion. Lily lay in bed that night, replaying the events of the day in her mind. From the humiliation at the hands of Beatrice Crawford to the unexpected attention from Zachary Harding, from the elegant dance to the chaotic fire, it had been unlike any other day in her life. She thought of how it had felt to dance with Zachary, his hand steady at her waist, his eyes never leaving hers. Had he really been watching for her arrival? And what had he meant by wanting to continue their conversation? Sleep came slowly, filled with dreams of dancing figures and flaming tents, of cruel laughter and kind blue eyes. The following morning dawned clear and hot, a typical Texas summer day. Lily rose early, knowing her father would need help at the store. Many townsfolk would be coming in to replace items lost in the fire, and there would be orders to fill. As she had predicted, the store was unusually busy for a Sunday. The fire was the main topic of conversation, with various theories about its cause being debated across the counter. Probably a lantern knocked over, old Mr. Jenkins speculated as Lily measured out flour for him. Those exhibition tents were packed too tight with displays. I heard it might have been deliberate, Mrs. Wilson countered, lowering her voice. Sheriff Thomas was asking some mighty pointed questions about strangers in town yesterday. Lily tried not to pay too much attention to the gossip, focusing instead on serving customers efficiently. It was nearly noon when the bell above the door jingled, and Zachary Harding walked in, his injured arm now properly bandaged. The store momentarily fell silent as people took note of his arrival, then resumed their conversations with renewed interest. Zachary nodded politely to the other customers before making his way to the counter where Lily stood. "Miss Keller," he greeted her, removing his hat. "I hope you're well after last night's excitement." "I am, thank you," she replied, acutely aware of the attention they were receiving. "How is your arm?" "Much improved, thanks to your mother's, or rather, your excellent salve." He glanced around the busy store. "I see you have your hands full today. I was hoping to speak with your father about a substantial order for the ranch, but perhaps another time would be better." "He's in the back office," Lily said. "I can fetch him for you." "No need to interrupt his work," Zachary said, "but I would like to speak with you if you can spare a moment." Curious, Lily called to her mother, who was restocking a shelf nearby. "Ma, can you mind the counter for a moment?" Martha quickly agreed, giving Zachary a warm smile as she took Lily's place. Lily led him to a quieter corner of the store, away from prying ears. "What can I help you with, Mr. Harding?" she asked. "First, I wanted to properly thank you for your assistance last night," he said. "And second, I wanted to apologize for our interrupted dance. I had hoped for a more pleasant evening." "There's no need to apologize," Lily assured him. "You were helping others as anyone would." Zachary studied her face for a moment, then said, "Miss Keller, Lily, if I may, I've been thinking about what happened at the fair yesterday before the fire." Lily tensed, not wanting to revisit the humiliation she had experienced. "Those women who spoke so cruelly," he continued, his voice low and serious, "they were wrong. Not just morally wrong, but factually wrong." "Mr. Harding, please call me Zachary," he interrupted gently, "and I hope you'll hear me out. I've never been one for flowery words or grand gestures, but I believe in speaking honestly. In the short time I've been in Sweetwater, I've heard nothing but good things about you, your intelligence, your kindness, your skill in business. And yesterday, I saw for myself how you carried yourself with dignity despite others' cruelty, how you danced with grace despite your concerns, how you helped others during the fire without hesitation." He paused, seeming to gather his thoughts. "What I'm trying to say, perhaps poorly, is that I admire you, Lily Keller, and I would very much like to call on you properly if you're amenable." Lily stared at him, scarcely believing what she was hearing. "You want to court me?" "I do," he confirmed. "With your father's permission, of course." "But you hardly know me," she protested. "I know enough to want to know more," he said simply. "Unless, of course, you find the idea objectionable." "No," Lily said quickly, then blushed at her eagerness. "I mean, I don't find it objectionable, I'm just surprised." Zachary smiled, and Lily thought it transformed his serious face into something quite remarkable. "Then may I speak with your father today, and perhaps call on you this coming Saturday?" Before Lily could respond, the bell above the door jingled again and Sheriff Thomas entered, his expression grim. "Zach," he called, spotting them in the corner. "Glad I found you, we need to talk." Zachary's smile faded. "What's happened, John?" "Fire investigator from Austin arrived this morning," the sheriff said. "Found evidence the fire was deliberately set, and one of your ranch hands reported seeing someone suspicious near the bullpen right before the judging yesterday. You think they're connected?" Zachary asked, immediately alert. "Can't say for certain, but seems mighty coincidental," Sheriff Thomas replied. "Thought you should know since your prize bull might have been the target." Zachary nodded grimly. "I appreciate the warning. I'll speak with my men, see if anyone noticed anything else unusual." The sheriff tipped his hat to Lily. "Miss Keller, sorry to interrupt." After he left, Zachary turned back to Lily, his expression apologetic. I should follow up on this. Of course, she said, understanding the seriousness of the situation. But about your question, yes, you may speak with my father, and yes, you may call on me Saturday. The tension in his face eased slightly. Thank you, Lily. I'll return later today to discuss the ranch order with your father and to ask his permission properly. As Zachary departed, Lily returned to the counter, where her mother was failing to hide a smile. Not a word, Ma, Lily warned, though she couldn't keep the happiness from her own voice. I didn't say anything, Martha protested innocently. Though I might have to bake a special pie for Saturday. True to his word, Zachary returned later that afternoon and spent nearly an hour in Howard Keller's office, discussing both business matters and Lily assumed permission to court her. When they emerged, her father looked thoughtful but not displeased, and Zachary wore a satisfied expression that told her all she needed to know. Until Saturday, Miss Keller, he said as he departed, the formality of his words belied by the warmth in his eyes. The following days passed in a blur of anticipation for Lily. Word of Zachary Harding's interest in her spread through Sweetwater with predictable speed, generating reactions ranging from genuine happiness to open disbelief. Beatrice Crawford and her sisters made a point of visiting the store, ostensibly to purchase ribbons but clearly to assess the situation for themselves. I heard the new rancher has been calling on you, Lily, Beatrice said with forced casualness as she examined a bolt of fabric. How? Unexpected. Mr. Harding has business with my father, Lily replied evenly, not willing to give Beatrice the satisfaction of seeing her discomfort. Just business. That's not what Mrs. Patterson is telling everyone, one of the sisters said with a smirk. Rebecca, Beatrice chided with false propriety, it's not polite to repeat gossip. She turned back to Lily. Though I must say, if it is true, you should be careful. Men like Zachary Harding aren't usually interested in, well, women like you, unless they have ulterior motives. The familiar sting of her words hit Lily, but this time she refused to let it show. Thank you for your concern, Beatrice. Will there be anything else today? Beatrice narrowed her eyes at Lily's composure. No, I believe we have everything we need. As they turned to leave, she added, do give my regards to Mr. Harding when you see him. Tell him I'm having a dinner party next week that he simply must attend. After they left, Lily's mother emerged from the storeroom. Those girls never change, she said, shaking her head. But you handled them beautifully, dear. I'm trying not to let them bother me, Lily admitted. But what if they're right, Ma? What if Zachary does have some ulterior motive? Martha's expression softened. Lily, I've seen the way that young man looks at you. And I've seen plenty of fortune hunters and schemers in my time. Zachary Harding is neither. He looks at you the way your father used to look at me, still does, when he thinks I'm not watching. Lily wanted to believe her mother, but years of insecurity couldn't be erased in a matter of days. When Saturday finally arrived, she dressed with particular care in a pale yellow dress that Martha had altered to fit her perfectly, with a sweetheart neckline that flattered her full figure. Zachary arrived precisely at 2 o'clock, driving a smart buggy and dressed in what was clearly his Sunday best, a dark suit that emphasized his broad shoulders, and a crisp white shirt that contrasted with his sun-browned skin. Howard invited him into the parlor, where Martha had indeed prepared a special pie along with tea. The initial conversation was somewhat stilted, with Howard questioning Zachary about his plans for the ranch and his background in Colorado. My father ran cattle in the North Park region, Zachary explained. I learned ranching from him, but when he passed last year, my brothers and I decided to sell the property and seek our own paths. Texas seemed promising, with good grazing land still available at reasonable prices. And your family? Martha inquired. Are they still in Colorado? My mother passed when I was young, he replied. My older brother went to California and my younger brother joined the army. We correspond regularly, but they haven't yet visited Sweetwater. As the conversation continued, Lily observed Zachary carefully. He answered each question thoughtfully, showing respect for her parents while maintaining his own opinions. There was an authenticity about him that she found increasingly attractive. After refreshments, Zachary asked if Lily would accompany him on a short drive around town. With her parents' approval, they set off in his buggy, following the main street before turning onto a quieter road that led toward the creek. "Your parents are good people," Zachary commented as they drove. "Your father knows more about this region than any man I've met." "They liked you too," Lily said. "Though Pa will probably ask 100 more questions before he's satisfied," Zachary smiled. "As he should, you're his daughter." They fell into a comfortable silence for a moment, the only sounds being the horses' hooves and the creak of the buggy wheels. Finally, Zachary spoke again. "Lily, there's something I want to show you if you don't mind a slightly longer drive." Curious, she agreed, and he turned the buggy onto a road leading out of town. After about 15 minutes, they crested a small hill, and Zachary drew the horse to a stop. Below them stretched the former Wilson property, now Zachary's North Star Ranch. From this vantage point, Lily could see the main house, a solid 2-story structure with a wide porch, several outbuildings, and pastures where cattle grazed lazily in the afternoon sun. "It's beautiful," she said sincerely. "It will be," Zachary replied. "There's still much work to be done. The house needs repairs, the north pasture requires better fencing, and I want to expand the herd considerably next spring." He turned to face her more directly. "Lily, I didn't bring you here just to show you the ranch. I wanted to explain something. When I first saw you at the fair, being treated so unkindly by those women, I was angry on your behalf. But what truly caught my attention was how you held yourself afterward with dignity and grace, despite their cruelty." Lily looked down, unsure how to respond. "Then during the fire, I watched you work tirelessly alongside everyone else, helping wherever needed, showing compassion to those who were hurt," he continued. "You're the kind of person I admire, Lily, strong, kind, intelligent." "You make me sound better than I am," she protested softly. "I think perhaps you don't see yourself clearly," he countered. "Those Crawford women and others like them have tried to make you feel less worthy because of your size, but they're wrong. A person's worth isn't measured by their waistline, but by their character, their actions, their heart." Lily felt tears threatening and blinked them back. "Few people in Sweetwater would agree with you." "Then they're fools," Zachary said simply, "and I've never much cared for fools' opinions." He hesitated, then reached for her hand, holding it gently in his much larger one. "I know this is forward of me, and we've only just begun courting, but I want you to know my intentions are serious, Lily. I didn't come to Sweetwater looking for a wife, but now that I've met you, I can't imagine finding anyone more suitable." Lily's heart raced at his words. "Zachary, you don't need to respond now," he assured her. "In fact, I hope you won't. I want you to take time to know me better, to be certain of your own feelings. I'm a patient man." The sincerity in his voice moved her deeply. "Thank you," she said, "for truly seeing me when so many others don't bother to look past the surface." Zachary squeezed her hand gently before releasing it. "Shall we head back? I promised your father I'd have you home by 5. As they drove back toward town, Lily felt lighter than she had in years, as if a burden she had carried for so long had finally begun to ease. Over the next few weeks, Zachary called on Lily regularly. Sometimes they took drives around the countryside. Other times they simply sat on her parents' porch, talking about everything from books they had read to their hopes for the future. Lily found herself opening up to him in ways she never had with anyone else, sharing childhood memories and adult fears alike. In turn, Zachary told her about growing up on a remote ranch in Colorado, about losing his mother to influenza when he was 10, about the complex relationship with his father who had been both loving and demanding. "He wanted all 3 of us boys to run the ranch together after he was gone," Zachary explained during one of their conversations. "But we were too different. James has always been restless, wanting to see what lay beyond the next mountain, and Thomas. He and Father clashed constantly. By the time Father passed, it was clear none of us could stay without destroying what remained of our relationship as brothers." "Do you regret leaving?" Lily asked. Zachary considered this. "I miss the land sometimes. It was beautiful in a harsh way, high mountains, deep valleys, winters that could bury the ranch house in snow. But no, I don't regret coming to Texas," he smiled at her. "Especially now." As their courtship progressed, Lily became a frequent visitor to North Star Ranch, often accompanied by Martha or occasionally by Mrs. Patterson as chaperone. Zachary proudly showed her the improvements he was making, a new barn being constructed, the house interior being renovated room by room, the vegetable garden he had started behind the kitchen. "My mother always said a ranch needed a good garden," he told Lily as they walked between rows of tomatoes and beans. "She'd be pleased to see this taking shape." "It's coming along nicely," Lily agreed, "though it could use some herbs along that south-facing wall." Zachary looked at her appreciatively. "Would you help me plan that? I know little about herbs, but I trust your knowledge." The request pleased Lily immensely. Unlike many men she had observed, Zachary valued her opinions and actively sought her input on matters from garden planning to business decisions. Not everyone in Sweetwater viewed their courtship favorably, of course. Beatrice Crawford made a point of inviting Zachary to social functions without including Lily, though he unfailingly declined unless Lily was also welcome. And there were whispers, as there always were in small towns, about what a handsome, prosperous rancher could possibly see in that Keller girl. But increasingly, Lily found herself caring less about such pettiness. Zachary's respect and affection had awakened a confidence in her that had long been dormant, and she began to move through the world with her head held higher. One afternoon in late August, nearly 2 months after their first meeting at the fair, Zachary invited Lily to ride out to a special spot on his property. Mrs. Patterson accompanied them, though she tactfully remained with the buggy when they reached their destination, a small hill overlooking a bend in the creek, where a single oak tree provided ample shade. Zachary spread a blanket beneath the tree, and they sat side by side, looking out over the water and the rolling landscape beyond. "I found this place my first week here," he said. "I come here sometimes to think, especially when decisions need to be made." "It's peaceful," Lily observed, listening to the gentle sound of the creek and the rustling leaves above them. "Lily," Zachary began, his voice more serious than usual, "I've been thinking a great deal about us, about our future." Her heart quickened at his words. Over the weeks of their courtship, her feelings for him had deepened into something she knew was love, though neither of them had spoken the word aloud yet. "We've known each other for only a short time," he continued, "but I've never been more certain of anything in my life." He turned to face her fully. "I love you, Lily Keller. Your kindness, your intelligence, your strength, everything about you, and if you'll have me, I want to spend my life with you." Lily's breath caught in her throat. "Zachary, before you answer," he interrupted gently, "I want you to know that I understand the challenges we might face. There will always be people like Beatrice Crawford, people who judge without understanding. But together, I believe we can build something beautiful, something lasting." Tears welled in Lily's eyes, but they were tears of joy. "I love you too," she said, the words coming easily now that the moment had arrived. "I think I've known it since that night at the fair when you danced with me as if I were the only woman in the room." Zachary's face broke into a radiant smile. He reached into his pocket and withdrew a small velvet box. "Then, Lily Keller, would you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" He opened the box to reveal a ring not ostentatious, but beautifully crafted, with a small diamond flanked by 2 sapphires. "It was my mother's," he explained. "My father gave it to me before he died, saying it should go to the woman who captured my heart as completely as she had captured his." Lily looked from the ring to Zachary's hopeful face, her heart so full she thought it might burst. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "Yes, I will marry you, Zachary Harding." His hands trembled slightly as he slipped the ring onto her finger, then he leaned forward and kissed her their first kiss, sweet and tender and full of promise. When they returned to the buggy, Mrs. Patterson took one look at their glowing faces and Lily's ringed hand and burst into delighted laughter. "Well, it's about time," she declared. "I was beginning to think I'd need to drop hints the size of Texas." The news of their engagement spread through Sweetwater even faster than the earlier gossip about their courtship. Howard and Martha Keller were delighted, having grown to respect and like Zachary over the previous weeks. A date was set for late October, giving them just enough time to prepare for a proper wedding while still allowing them to be settled at North Star Ranch before winter. Not everyone received the news with joy, of course. Beatrice Crawford was overhead at the millinery shop declaring it the most peculiar match, and speculating that Zachary must be desperate for a housekeeper, or after the Keller's store. But such spiteful comments found less purchase than they once might have, as many townspeople had observed the genuine affection between Lily and Zachary. In the weeks leading up to the wedding, Lily divided her time between helping at the store, preparing for her new role as mistress of North Star Ranch, and completing her trousseau. Martha insisted on ordering special fabric from Dallas for Lily's wedding dress, a rich ivory satin that complemented her coloring perfectly. "You're going to be the most beautiful bride Sweetwater has ever seen," Martha declared as they worked on the dress together, adding delicate lace to the bodice and tiny pearl buttons down the back. "I just want to be worthy of him, Ma," Lily confessed, her old insecurities occasionally resurfacing despite her newfound confidence. Martha set down her sewing and took Lily's hands in hers. "Lily Grace Keller, you listen to me. That man adores you not in spite of who you are, but because of who you are. You're more than worthy of him, and he knows it even if you sometimes forget." As October approached, excitement built not just within the Keller household but throughout North Star Ranch as well. Zachary's ranch hands, who had grown fond of Lily during her visits, took it upon themselves to build a special wedding gift, a beautiful garden bench placed under the oak tree where Zachary had proposed. The day before the wedding, as final preparations were underway at the church, an unexpected wagon arrived in Sweetwater. Zachary, who had been helping to set up benches, looked up at the sound of familiar voices. "James, Thomas," he called out in disbelief, as two men jumped down from the wagon. "Surprise, little brother," the taller of the two shouted, striding forward to envelop Zachary in a bear hug. "Did you really think we'd miss your wedding?" Lily, who had been arranging flowers with Martha and several other women, watched as Zachary embraced his brothers with obvious joy. When he finally broke away, he turned toward her, his face alight with happiness. "Lily, come meet my family," he called. Somewhat nervous, she made her way to his side. The two men regarded her with open curiosity, and she felt a moment of trepidation. Would they approve of their brother's choice? "Lily, these are my brothers, James and Thomas," Zachary said proudly, slipping an arm around her waist. "Brothers, this is my bride-to-be, Lily Keller." James, the taller and older of the two, smiled warmly and tipped his hat. "Miss Keller, it's a pleasure to finally meet you. Zach's letters have been full of nothing but praise for you." Thomas, who had their mother's blue eyes according to Zachary, stepped forward to take her hand. "We were beginning to think this day would never come," he said with a grin. Zach was always the serious one, too busy with work to notice a pretty face. "You must be something special to have caught his attention." "She is," Zachary said simply, tightening his arm around her waist. That evening, the Keller home hosted a lively dinner for the extended family, including Zachary's brothers and Mrs. Patterson, who declared herself honorary grandmother to the bride. The brothers shared embarrassing stories from Zachary's youth, making him groan and Lily laugh until her sides ached. "Did he tell you about the time he tried to tame a wild Mustang all by himself?" James asked, eyes twinkling. "Ended up in the creek with a broken arm and wounded pride." "I was 12, Zachary protested. "And that horse was smaller than it looked." As the evening wore on, Lily found herself drawn into conversation with Thomas, the younger brother, who had been quieter than James throughout dinner. "You know," he said, lowering his voice so only she could hear, "I haven't seen Zach this happy in years, not since before our mother died, really." Lily glanced across the room, where Zachary was deep in conversation with her father. "I hope I can keep making him happy," she said sincerely. Thomas smiled. "I think you will. You're not what I expected when he wrote that he was engaged, and I mean that as a compliment." "What did you expect?" Lily couldn't help asking. "Honestly, someone showier, less substantial." He looked slightly embarrassed. "The few girls Zach showed interest in back home were pretty, but, well, not much else to them. You're different. I can see why he loves you." His words warmed Lily deeply, erasing any lingering concerns about whether Zachary's family would accept her. The wedding day dawned clear and mild, perfect weather for an October ceremony. As tradition dictated, Zachary spent the night at his ranch while Lily remained at her parents' home, where Martha and Mrs. Patterson helped her prepare. "Something old," Martha said, fastening a cameo necklace that had belonged to Lily's grandmother around her neck. "Something new," Mrs. Patterson added, presenting a pair of delicate lace gloves she had purchased in Austin. "Something borrowed," Martha continued, placing her own pearl hairpins in Lily's carefully arranged curls. "And something blue," Mrs. Patterson finished, tucking a small blue ribbon into Lily's bouquet of autumn flowers. When Howard saw his daughter in her wedding gown, tears glistened in his eyes. "You look beautiful, my girl," he said gruffly. "Your Zachary is a lucky man." The church was filled to capacity with townsfolk, neighboring ranchers, and friends of both families. Even Beatrice Crawford and her sisters were present, though seated toward the back. As the music began and Lily prepared to walk down the aisle on her father's arm, she felt a moment of nervousness. What if everyone was staring, judging, whispering? But then she saw Zachary waiting at the altar, his expression transforming from nervous anticipation to awe as he caught sight of her. In that moment, no one else in the church existed for Lily. She walked toward her future husband with steady steps, her heart full of love and certainty. The ceremony itself passed in a blur of emotion. Lily and Zachary exchanged vows they had written themselves, promising to support each other through all of life's challenges, to respect and cherish one another, to build a home and family together. "With this ring, I thee wed," Zachary said, his voice strong and clear as he placed the simple gold band on Lily's finger alongside her engagement ring. "With this ring, I thee wed," Lily echoed, sliding a matching band onto his finger. "By the power vested in me by the state of Texas," the minister proclaimed, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride." Zachary's kiss was tender but unmistakably passionate, drawing scattered applause and a few good-natured whoops from his ranch hands in the back pews. The celebration afterward, held at North Star Ranch under a canopy of lanterns and autumn foliage, was everything Lily could have wished for. Tables laden with food prepared by the women of Sweetwater, music provided by local musicians, and dancing that continued well into the evening. During a brief pause in the festivities, Zachary took Lily's hand and led her slightly away from the main gathering. "Are you happy, Mrs. Harding?" he asked softly. "More than I ever thought possible," she replied truthfully. He smiled, glancing back at their guests. "I have a surprise for you." "Wait here." Curious, Lily watched as he strode purposefully toward the front of the gathering, where the musicians were preparing for another set. After a brief conversation, Zachary returned to the center of the makeshift dance floor and held up his hands for attention. "Friends and family," he called out, his voice carrying across the yard, "I want to thank you all for sharing this special day with Lily and me." A chorus of cheers and applause greeted his words. "Many of you were at the county fair in July," he continued when the noise subsided. "You might remember that my first dance with the beautiful woman who is now my wife was interrupted by unfortunate circumstances." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "Some of you might also recall that there were unkind words spoken that day," Zachary went on, his tone more serious. "Words intended to hurt and humiliate Lily because of her size." An uncomfortable silence fell over the gathering. Lily felt her cheeks warm, wondering where Zachary was going with this. "Those words were spoken by people who couldn't see Lily's true worth," he said, his gaze finding hers across the space between them. "People who judged her by the narrowest, shallowest standards rather than by her character, her intelligence, her remarkable heart." He began walking toward her, his eyes never leaving hers. "I stand before you all today as the proudest, most fortunate man in Texas because this extraordinary woman has chosen to be my wife." Reaching her, Zachary took her hands in his. "Lily Keller Harding, I love you exactly as you are. And I would be honored if you would finish the dance we started that night." As he led her to the center of the floor, the musicians began playing a waltz, the same one that had been playing during their first dance. This time, however, there was no fire to interrupt them, no crisis to cut short their moment. "You didn't have to do this," Lily whispered as they moved together, aware of all eyes upon them. Yes, I did, Zachary replied. I want everyone here to see what I see when I look at you, the most beautiful woman in Texas, inside and out. As they danced, other couples gradually joined them on the floor, including Howard and Martha, James and Mrs. Patterson, and even Thomas with one of the local girls who had been eyeing him all evening. From her position near the refreshment table, Beatrice Crawford watched with an expression that mingled disbelief with something that might almost have been envy. When the dance ended, she approached Lily, who tensed slightly at her approach. "Congratulations, Lily," Beatrice said, her voice lacking its usual edge. "Your dress is quite becoming." Coming from Beatrice, it was practically effusive praise. "Thank you, Beatrice," Lily replied graciously. "Mr. Harding, I mean, your husband seems very devoted," Beatrice continued, glancing toward where Zachary stood talking with his brothers. "He is," Lily agreed. "As am I to him." Beatrice nodded, appearing somewhat at a loss for words. Finally, she said, "Well, I wish you both happiness," before retreating to rejoin her sisters. "What did Beatrice want?" Martha asked, appearing at Lily's side with a concerned expression. "To wish us well, believe it or not," Lily replied, still slightly surprised. Martha raised an eyebrow. Wonders never cease. As the celebration continued into the night, Lily found moments to speak with each guest, accepting congratulations and good wishes with genuine warmth. Sheriff Thomas presented them with a fine new rifle for ranch protection, while Mrs. Patterson gave them a quilt she had been secretly working on for months, embroidered with their initials and wedding date. "For the bed you'll share for the next 50 years, she said with a wink that made Lily blush. Finally, as the hour grew late, the guests began to depart, many stopping to embrace the couple and offer parting words of wisdom or humor. Lily's parents were among the last to leave, with Martha hugging her daughter tightly. "Remember what I told you about being worthy," she whispered in Lily's ear, "and come visit soon." Howard shook Zachary's hand firmly. "Take care of my girl," he said gruffly, "and know that you're always welcome at our table." "I will, sir," Zachary promised, "and I hope you'll both visit often." "This is still your daughter's home, just with a different address." After the last guest had departed and Zachary's brothers had retired to the guest rooms, Lily and Zachary stood alone on the porch of what was now their home. The autumn night was cool, stars scattered like diamond dust across the dark sky. "Mrs. Harding," Zachary said softly, drawing her into his arms, "welcome home." "Home," Lily repeated, savoring the word. "Our home." He kissed her then, without the restraint that had characterized their previous kisses, and Lily responded with equal passion, all the love she felt for this man flowing through her. "I have one more surprise for you," Zachary said when they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless. "Close your eyes." Lily did as he asked, feeling him take her hand and guide her into the house. They walked through the main room and down the hallway, finally stopping in what Lily knew was the master bedroom. "Open your eyes," Zachary whispered. Lily gasped at the transformation. The room, which had been sparsely furnished during her previous visits, now contained a beautiful new bed with an ornately carved headboard, matching bedside tables, and a dressing table with a mirror framed in polished wood. Fresh flowers stood in vases on every surface, filling the room with their sweet scent, and candles cast a warm, intimate glow. "Zachary, it's beautiful," she breathed, turning slowly to take it all in. "Your mother helped me choose the furniture," he admitted. "And Mrs. Patterson contributed the curtains. The ranch hands snuck everything in while we were at the church." Lily was touched by the thought and care that had gone into creating this sanctuary for them. "It's perfect," she said, turning back to face him. "Everything about today has been perfect." Zachary's expression softened as he gazed at her. "You're perfect, Lily Harding, and I intend to spend the rest of my life making sure you never doubt it." As their lips met again in the candlelit room, Lily knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, and there would surely be many in the unpredictable life of a Texas ranch, they would face them together, with love and respect as their foundation. In the years that followed, North Star Ranch prospered under the joint stewardship of Zachary and Lily Harding. The herd grew, as did their reputation for fair dealing and quality stock. The house expanded to accommodate their growing family, beginning with the birth of their son Howard James in the autumn of 1879, followed by twin daughters Elizabeth and Catherine in 1881, and another son, Benjamin, in 1885. Lily never lost her connection to the Sweetwater community. She continued to help her father with the store's accounts, even after taking on the responsibilities of the ranch, and she became known throughout the county for her skill with herbal remedies and her willingness to assist neighbors in times of need. Zachary's brothers visited often, with James eventually settling in Austin and Thomas returning to North Star after his Army service to help manage the expanding operation. Mrs. Patterson declared herself official grandmother to all the Harding children, spoiling them with affection and homemade treats whenever they came to town. Even Beatrice Crawford's attitude softened over time, especially after her marriage to a banker from San Antonio left her feeling isolated and homesick. It was Lily who extended the hand of friendship during a particularly difficult period in Beatrice's life, demonstrating the generosity of spirit that Zachary had always admired in her. On their 10th wedding anniversary in 1888, Zachary surprised Lily with a special celebration at the oak tree where he had proposed. Their children, friends, and family gathered to witness as they renewed their vows, their love deepened by a decade of shared joys and overcome challenges. 10 years ago, Zachary said as they stood hand in hand before their loved ones, I asked this remarkable woman to be my wife, knowing even then that she was the best part of me. Today, I stand here even more certain of that truth. Lily, looking at her husband's face, now bearing a few more lines around the eyes, but still as handsome as the day they met, felt the same rush of love she had experienced at the county fair when he had asked her to dance. And I, she responded, her voice clear and confident, am grateful every day for the man who saw beyond appearances to the person I truly am, who loved me for exactly who I am, who built this beautiful life with me. As they sealed their renewed commitment with a kiss, cheers erupted from their assembled friends and family. Their oldest son, Howard, looking more like his father with each passing year, pretended embarrassment but couldn't hide his smile. The twins, Elizabeth and Catherine, sighed romantically, while little Benjamin simply clapped his hands in delight. Later that evening, as they sat together on the porch of their home watching the sunset paint the Texas sky in shades of gold and crimson, Lily rested her head on Zachary's shoulder. "Do you ever think about that day at the fair?" she asked. "How different our lives might have been if those women hadn't mocked me, if you hadn't come to my defense." Zachary's arm tightened around her. "I believe we would have found each other somehow," he said. "Some things are meant to be, Lily." "Even so," she mused, "it's strange to think that I should be grateful for Beatrice Crawford's cruelty. Without it, you might never have noticed me." "Oh, I would have noticed you," Zachary assured her. "A woman like you couldn't go unnoticed, not by a man with eyes to see and a heart to feel." Lily smiled, warmed by his words even after a decade of marriage. "Well, whatever twist of fate brought us together, I'm thankful for it, for you, for our family, for everything we've built." "As am I," Zachary agreed, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "And I look forward to many more decades of building it together." As the last rays of sunlight faded and the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, they remained on the porch, talking quietly about their children, their plans for the ranch, their hopes for the future. And Lily, who had once felt so out of place and unworthy in Sweetwater, knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she belonged beside the man who had asked for her hand before all could see, who had chosen her with pride and loved her without reservation, who had helped her discover her own strength and worth. In the story of Lily and Zachary Harding, what had begun with mockery and cruelty had transformed into something beautiful and enduring, a love that would be remembered in Sweetwater long after they were gone, a legacy of kindness and acceptance that would echo through generations to come.